Hello, Chicago and surrounding area.
Oh,
You like I threw that in?
I like that.
Coming to you from Studio C at AM 560, The Answer. This is the IRS Radio Hour.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
This show sponsored by the law office of Stephen A. Leahy P.C. and Opem Tax Resolutions.
God bless you, Opem Tax Resolution.
I always laugh at that. Opem helps people achieve full financial recovery. We deal with IRS problems. We help people solve them. Audits, levies, liens, garnishments, collections, unfiled tax returns, and payroll tax issues. And those are big.
That's big.
I also deal with mortgage foreclosures, loan modifications, bankruptcy, and other debt-related issues. So if you have any of these problems, or if you know someone who does, or if you need your taxes prepared, and I came up with a new. I was saying, I'll give 20% off. But what I'm going to do is, if you call me to prepare your taxes, I will do it for, and now normal taxes, not some wild, crazy business taxes, but normal taxes. We'll do them for $100, but then you have to sign up for the IRS protection plan. And if you call, I'll tell you all about it, and then you can make that decision.
That's a good deal.
It is a good deal. And,
how can I call you?
You can call me at 312-664-6649.
Hold on, I didn't put that in my phone. Could you do that again?
I think you have it. Oh, no, you don't. You never.
No,
call
I don't, because I don't call you at the office. I don't call you at all. I wait for you to call me. Speaking of payroll tax issues, when am I getting paid?
Okay, 312-664-6649. Visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. I am your host. I am attorney Stephen Leahy, and the kid that was talking, I'll introduce him in just a minute. Our technical producer, Debbie Schreiner, is not here today, but we have Big Jim Thompson sitting in. Not that Jim Thompson.
No relation to the governor. None whatsoever.
Thank God. I would
Zero.
We wouldn't want you here if you are. No offense, Big Jim Thompson, the former governor, but we don't want you to be here. And I want to introduce my co-host, my nephew, my very good friend, Jimmy Leahy.
Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Thanks for having me there, Stephen. Usually we have a different spiel, but this is a different show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not only talk about IRS-related issues, but we talk about politics. We talk about Chicago. We talk about a lot of things that will affect your life. Sports.
We talk about
that. And I was at that Blackhawks game Monday night. We will talk about that later on in the show.
We usually do that on the last segment.
Right now, we're going to do the News Roundup.
Review and comment on the news.
What's the big news this week, everybody? Well, I wonder what it is. Justice Scalia murdered. That
is big news. Is it breaking here, Jim? You breaking that?
I'm breaking that. I'm telling you.
So we have some technical difficulties, and so I don't have my internet, so I can't. But I wanted to talk about Scalia. As listeners to this show know, he's my he was my very favorite. Love the guy.
And you know what?
His when you read his opinions, they make sense. It's logical. And you can read them from front to back and follow his logic, unlike some of those others, and I won't mention anybody else.
Sotomayor?
Yeah. I haven't read too much of her because she's new, and I wasn't in law school. When I was in law school, she wasn't there. So, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she figures out the way she wants to, and that's what's so great about Scalia. He followed the law. He was an originalist. He thought, well, what did they mean when they said this? Then that's the way the Constitution should be interpreted, not the way that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was. What result do I want? Well, let's read it that way. And I think that's the huge difference, and that's why sometimes even conservatives got down on Scalia, because he followed the Constitution and didn't worry about where it landed. He followed the Constitution. That's what we need.
Well, but the question I have is, didn't the founding fathers take that into consideration when they wrote it? That human error and human judgment. I mean, that's human nature. It's happened
when you're trying to get.
No, I understand, but it's been interpretations changed. They were law. There was a.
I understand interpretations change, but when you're trying to put it for history's sake, put down a thought, you use words to put that thought down, and you can't say, well, maybe Maybe sometime in the future they won't know that, that when I say shall not be infringed, it doesn't mean shall not be infringed. I mean, come on. It says, shall not be infringed. Well, can we infringe it? Well, we can still infringe it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, they didn't really mean it that way. Oh.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And
you're right.
That's why he's my very favorite. And that's why this whole fight with Obama is such a big deal. Because, again, I don't care. I know who he's gonna put somebody up. Let him. That's his job. Let him put somebody up.
That is his job.
So don't put anybody up. Put somebody up. I think it'd be great if he put somebody up because it will say, here, America, this is our choice. This is between this guy who will change the law, whatever the whim is, or somebody that will follow the Constitution.
I'll tell you what.
Who do you want?
I'll tell you what. It's great for Ted Cruz because it's going to change a lot of votes going his way. At least for me, I've switched. I was a trumpeter, whatever. But I'm not like politically charged. I don't really want to get into that whole thing. But with all honesty, I'm going to pick the guy who's going to pick the best
Supreme Court justice.
It's
going to make a huge difference.
It really is a huge difference, and that's a game changer.
Think about if Scalia wasn't there for the last 10 years, we wouldn't have gun rights, right?
No, you're right. Yeah, no, we wouldn't be able to have conceal and carry. We wouldn't be able to have gun rights. You're right. No, 100%.
Out the window.
100%.
That's
yes.
it.
You're right. He's that deciding factor.
And so this. I think if it was one of the lefties that had passed, whatever, let him put it, and then we could, because it wouldn't change the balance. But Scalia changes the balance, and we can't allow. And again, I love all the hypocrisy on both sides. With everybody saying, because you go back to Obama and he filibustered Alito and Hillary filibustered Alito, and now they're saying, oh, you can't filibuster. You got to give the president whoever he wants. Oh, is that right? What about Bork? What about Alito? What about go down the list? And they change depending on which side they want, and that's what's wrong. And again, that's why Scalia wouldn't have changed. He would have said, yes, this is right, or no, it's wrong, no matter what the outcome is. And the Constitution says that the Senate it has to pass the Senate, and if it doesn't pass the Senate, then we don't have to put him in. So let him put it wherever he wants up. Don't vote on it. The problem with the Senate is they don't have very much of a spine, and I'm afraid that they're going to waver. There's already some wavering.
They're yellow.
Like our guy Kirk, who's
yellow.
Not man enough to stand up and tell us what he thinks now. He's trying to play both sides.
Yep.
But we know where he's going to land. He's going to land on the side of the Democrats like he always does. That's just the way it is. It's like, well, Senator, if you're going to vote with them, why do we need a Republican? Why do we have to vote a Republican in when you could just vote for this Tammy Duckworth and she'll do everything you'll do and she'll be on their side? It just doesn't make any sense to me. We haven't gotten into Hillary Clinton
or the Pope
the Pope.
What's going on?
And
listen, Papa, sit down.
That's right, Papa. Take a seat. Let's talk. Stay out of politics.
I can't believe. Right? I think what's going on is, and I've said this throughout the show, is that non-Catholics seem to like the Pope a lot more than Catholics do, and everybody's, what a great thing! Oh, the Pope, what a great Pope! Because he's doing things that aren't Catholic, and so he's changing. You think he's going to change the Catholic Church? He's not going to change the Catholic Church.
I feel like atheists probably like him better than actual Catholics because he's so progressive.
I agree, and that's why everybody, and even all the lefties, are standing up and saying, "Oh, this is what a great Pope! What a great," because he's spouting your lines and not the Catholic Church's lines. He's not, so I said that most Catholics don't think he's such a great Pope.
What did they say in that one movie? This is how democracy dies with thunderous applause. That's right.
But,
ladies and gentlemen, sit back and have a cup of coffee because it's going to be a great ride.
He's an older guy, and he's that's one good thing about popes. They're always old, and they don't last very long, and it'll change.
And you know what won't last very long is you going against the IRS yourself.
Oh, you can't go against the IRS yourself. That's why you need help. You got to go with Opem Tax Resolutions. They'll help you solve your IRS problems. So give them a call at 312-664-6649. And you can go on the web. There's lots of information on the web at chicagotaxteam.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We just got this show started, so we got a couple more segments to go. So stay tuned after the commercial break. More IRS Radio Hour coming at you on AM 560.
The Answer.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, Attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back. I am your host. I am Attorney Stephen Leahy, and this is the IRS Radio Hour right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Well, Steve.
Yes, Jim.
Stephen A. Leahy.
That is
Attorney Leahy.
If that's my real name.
Stevie. What segment are we on? That's a good question.
That's your job, Jim.
I know what segment we're on. I'm just asking you a rhetorical question. Is that the proper terminology? We are on the blog segment. I'm trying to buy you time.
I don't need time.
Yeah, you do. All you need is time.
Okay, so, and what are we talking about on the blog segment this week? We're going to talk about the Fresh Start Initiative. And if you listen to the radio and you hear these IRS commercials.
So fresh and so clean.
They always say, I think Alan Thicke does a commercial about the Fresh Start Initiative like it's some magic thing.
Is it?
No, it is not a magic thing.
I thought David Blaine did it in one of his...
It's an IRS program, an initiative. So that tells you something right there, right?
What does it mean, though? For guys like me, what does that mean?
When you hear it on it, what they did is back in 2011, the IRS changed some of the rules for some of the programs that they have, which they call collection programs. Now, years ago, before in the 90s, early 90s, there weren't any ways. If you owed the IRS money, what they would do is they would take everything that you owned and sell it, and there weren't any programs to protect the taxpayer. A way to pay them back. So in 96, I believe it was, they came up with these programs. One was they came up with an installment agreement, so you can pay the IRS over time if you owed them without them taking your home.
What did you do before then, 96?
The IRS would come and take your stuff.
Oh my God!
That's it. They wouldn't. They didn't have any rules about how long they had to, or give you any notice or anything like that. There were no rules. The IRS kind of just did whatever they wanted to do, and they would come again. They would just come to your house, or they would just say, took that piece of property from you and sold it," and they just walk into your business and take everything. Boom, that's it. You're out.
Oh my Lord!
And there were no programs in place. So that's where they came up with this installment agreement, and this was when the Republicans took over Congress. In the 90s.
Gingrich.
That's right, exactly. And one of the first things they did was they had hearings from taxpayers who came in and gave these horror stories about what the IRS had done to them. And so the Congress, in all of its wisdom, said, "Well, let's come up with a program to stop this." And they came up with the offer and compromise program. They came up with another program called Currently Not Collectible. So if you didn't have the money, they would leave you alone. Installment agreements so you can pay over time. But they were still pretty onerous. They weren't very taxpayer friendly. So in 2011, now this was right after the 2008, everybody's losing their homes. Everybody is they don't have any money. Everybody's not paying the IRS. And so the IRS changed some of the programs. And this is what they call the Fresh Start Initiative. And a lot of these, again, have made it better for taxpayers, made it easier to come up with an agreement with the IRS and stop them from collection activities against you. Because when the IRS is coming after you, right, what they do is they take your bank account, they garnish your wages, they can start taking your property. If you have a condo, if I have a vacation home, they take it and they sell it. Even my home where I live, they could take it and sell all of my IRAs. If I have pensions, IRAs, they can take that and sell it. And, well, they don't have to sell it, right? They just take it. And too bad for the taxpayer. So there's these collection alternatives, they called. Collection alternatives. Uh-huh. And these are the 6 things that I talk about that a lot.
Oh, yeah,
on the
you
show.
did mention that.
The 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money. And again, in 2011, they changed a lot of the parameters. So, for instance, it used to be that if you owed less than $25,000 to the IRS, you didn't have to give them all your financial information. You can come up with a payment plan over 60 months, so 5 years.
Oh, that's good.
So under the Fresh Start Initiative, they changed that. They said, well, let's do it over 72 months, and we'll do it
72 months,
and we'll do it not only if you owe less than $25,000, but if you owe less than $50,000. So they changed it. So they doubled it actually. So they made it a lot easier for people because nowadays with penalties and interest, it's easy to owe the IRS $25,000. So almost nobody qualified for that. What they call it a streamlined installment agreement. So now they doubled it.
Wow,
they went
that's
to
a lot
50,000.
to take in. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning they say take notes. Take notes.
That's right. Or just call me and I'll explain it to you.
Yeah.
Which one's
How do we
best
call
for you? That's right. 312-664-6649. Okay, so another one.
Full financial.
Full financial recovery. That's right. The next one was the offered compromise, and they changed a lot of that. So one of the things they did was there used to be a multiplier. So
2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4
that is a multiplier. But what they would do is they look at how much money you have left at every month. It's called disposable income. And then they would multiply it. Well, the multiplier used to be 60. So 5 years. They'd say, okay, if you have $500 a month available, you pay it in a lump sum. You could pay it, but they would take that 500, multiply it by 60. Right, that's $30,000 plus add any assets you have, and that's what they would accept as an offer in compromise. Now that number is 12, so it went from 30,000 to 6,000. Huge difference. Huge difference. So they've made a lot.
What do you mean though with 12? Did you just throw a random number out there? Like the number is 12? Like,
no, 12. That's the multiplier for 1 year. So it used to be 5 years.
12 months.
So they used to go 5 years, 60 months.
Good.
And so now they go 1 year, 12 months. And they say, well, that's what they're going to take.
I missed that day in school. I'm sorry.
Well, we don't talk about this in school. Okay, another good thing that they did, part of the Fresh Start Initiative. If I pay the IRS off, they'll remove it from my credit report.
Ooh,
yeah, that's big.
That's huge.
Now, I was on David Hochberg's show last week on another station, as they say, Home Sweet Home Chicago. I like that show, and you should listen to it. It's on Saturdays at 10 o'clock. But on that show, we were talking about this. We have a common client, and we put him into a installment agreement some years ago. So now he owes less than $25,000. He's trying to refinance his house because his interest rate is at like 8.5%. So he comes to David Hochberg, and David said, I can't help you. Your credit's too low. And then he starts investigating, finds out he was my client. He said, Steve, can't we get rid of this? Can't we get rid of this on his credit report? And so we did. We got rid of it on his credit report.
Wow.
And his credit score went from the mid 500s to 630. So almost 80 or 90 points he got almost in like
almost Chinese dentist time.
And almost overnight. And so now he can qualify for a mortgage at a much lower interest rate, and he's going to save him $1,500 to $2,000 a month just because he can get a better mortgage and because we can take it off of his credit report. So there's a lot of good things in this Fresh Start Initiative.
That sounds good. Yeah, I like that.
So how you put and this was again, this was not because the IRS is such a great agency and cares about people, right? Congress, kind of pressured them to do this kind of stuff and change some of these rules, at least make it available.
Do you think any of these IRS employees ever just change numbers for themselves and go, oh?
Well, there was just one that was just arrested.
Did you talk about that
on the IRS saga?
Yep.
That was a good one. But there's a lot of bad eggs in the in the IRS. But again, these programs are out there to help you, and they've changed them. So if you're having IRS problems, these things are meant for you. And again, most people don't even know they're out there. So what most people do when they owe the IRS money is they kind of crawl into a box.
Yeah,
and
that's what I would do.
And they hope it goes away. And they don't pay and then they say, well, I won't file my tax return, and then the IRS won't know that I owe them money. Wrong. They know you owe them money. And then they'll do what they call a substitute for return. And that's a whole nother blog post that we'll have to talk about another time. But let me tell you this. If you owe the IRS money, file your tax return on time, even if you don't have the money to pay them. File the tax return. And then call Opem Tax Resolutions.
Ooh.
And we will help you figure out which one of these programs are best for you, because they're out there. They're not easy to get into. And remember, the IRS doesn't want you to get into them.
They want
their money.
They want everything.
And they make it really hard for people to do this themselves. And that's where we come in, because we know what the rules are and how to make it work in our clients' favor. And that's what we do. We get into these programs, which one's right for you, and we evaluate the situation, do a complete investigation, figure out where you are, which one of these programs work for you, and then we negotiate with the IRS the best deal that we can for you. And that's what you should do. So if you don't fight the IRS yourself, again, I'm going to go through it and tell you, if you owe the IRS money, file your tax return on time, and then you can call Opem Tax Resolutions at 312-664-6649. I'm going to give that number again, 312-664-6649, or visit them on the web at chicagotaxteam.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned, because again, we're going to hit another commercial break, but more IRS Radio Hours coming at you on AM 560.
The Answer.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy on AM 560, The Answer. Attorney Stephen Leahy brings his passion and expertise to your radio each and every week during the IRS Radio Hour. Tune in, take notes, and be educated. Learn your options resolving financial obstacles that face so many. And now, back to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back. I am your host. I am attorney Stephen Leahy. Just what that guy just said.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty descriptive.
I want to introduce. I guess I already introduced you.
Yeah, already.
But I want to welcome my co-host, my nephew, Jimmy Leahy.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
You didn't like me calling you Jimmy.
Yeah, it took me a while to get from Jimmy, but that's fine. As long as you don't call me like,
late for dinner.
Barry or something.
Barry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for all you avid IRS Radio Hour listeners, it's the saga. And this week's segment of As the IRS Turns, Koskinen.
Wherever we can, we follow the law.
Barry Sotero.
Not even mass corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption.
And that ever-favorite Lois Lerner is herself.
Thank you. I'm not good at math.
For another week of As the IRS Turns.
So
wow,
as our
seat of my pants,
as our guy Koskinen keeps saying, and the senators on the left say the real saga or the real scandal of the IRS is that they don't have enough money. That's the scandal.
That's disgusting.
They
need more cash.
The Congress is just cutting, and they have cut their budget a lot. But again, I keep bringing this up again. I'm going to do it again.
Bring it up again.
Here we are in the middle of tax season. Last year, almost 90% of all tax returns were done electronically. 10 years ago, we're working on budgets that they had 10 years. 10 years ago, it was like 5% or 10%. And now they're all done electronically, so we don't need the people opening up mail and all. But where's the savings? I searched on the internet. Now, one thing about the IRS is they have numbers and statistics for everything that they do. And I was looking to see, for instance, now their budget is going to be raised, and it's going to be over $13 billion. Did you know that, Jim? $13 billion a year. $1 billion. And people, they don't have enough money. How are they supposed to answer the phone? And so the IRS answers.
I'd answer the phone for $13 billion.
Now they're telling you they're going to do better than they did last year. Because last year they only could answer 40% of all the telephone calls after a half an hour.
Wow. Now
this is their goal this year. They're gonna answer 60% of the calls after only 25 minutes. So they're going to do a lot better. They're going to use that $13 billion and they're going to
really. It's actually pretty good for government, for bureaucracy. It's pretty good.
I have to agree with you. And of course, it's like every bureaucracy. They're going to shake us down, right? So they're going to
make a shakedown. Good old fashioned.
It is a shakedown because they're going to make it so the public will say, "Wait, we got to give them more money because look, we can't get them on the phone. They can't help us. Look, you know how much money they're losing because they tell us they can't go after people." Now, again, I help people who have IRS problems. Let me tell you something: the IRS goes after people. Okay, so now they're probably not collecting as much as they could, because then they can point at the statistics and say, "Well, although I don't know if people realize this, but the IRS collects more money today than they ever have in the history of mankind." And that's a fact.
Wow.
And they keep telling us how we could collect more if you just give us more. Give. But but again, the Congress, because of this whole scandal that they were going after the Republicans, and this here's how I wanted to talk about our guy Karl Rove. I shouldn't say our guy because I'm not a big Karl Rove fan, but Karl Rove was one of the.
He's a fan of Opem tax resolution.
I wish that were true. But
why you're not a fan of him?
He was at the beginning of all this because it was one of his PACs that were denied in 2010. Okay, and he was one of the first PACs. It just passed the IRS last week. So it took him almost 6 years to get approval, and the left is all in. This is not he shouldn't be a 501c4, C3. And there's a difference.
Like Bernie Sanders, I don't have a PAC.
I know. And so this is a super PAC. And then Obama was, I'm against super PAC. And then he went out and created the largest super PAC ever in the history of mankind. And he uses that super PAC. And it's still out there. Prior to USA, there's a couple others that he's part of, and that they raise huge sums of money. And so wasn't so. Remember, his 2 campaigns spent more than any campaigns in history, and then not even counting the super PACs. But anyway, so everybody's up in arms about Karl Rove's organization finally getting approval after 6 years, and when Obama got his, it was approved in like a day and a half. Like, oh, what a surprise! And of course, he doesn't do anything political with his stuff, and that's why they're saying, well, this is really political, and he shouldn't get this approval after 6 years.
Yeah. So
I don't think that the IRS was cutting Karl Rove any slack for taking 6 years for him to do it. I also wanted to talk about the money because, and I don't have time now because I was ranting about this.
Stop ranting.
I know, but
this is an anti-rant show.
I wanted to talk about the money that the IRS takes away from people, honest businessmen who want to put money in the bank at less than $10,000, and the IRS comes and takes it all away from them for no reason at all. They don't even have to break the law. They don't even have to be suspicious of breaking the law, and they still took their money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. But
Sheriff of Nottingham.
We'll have to talk about that in another time. And this is what's happened when the IRS is coming after people, right? It makes me crazy. And if they're coming after you, I'll go crazy against the IRS for you. That's what I do. I fight the IRS for people. So call me at 312-664-6649. Again, that number what is the number?
312-664-6649.
What's the address? What's the website?
ChicagoTaxTeam.com. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because after this commercial break, he really is not going to go crazy, but we're going to be here on AM 560.
The answer.
Welcome back to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy. Stephen has helped hundreds of Chicagoans recover from financial disaster, and he wants to help you and your family. There are resolutions, and you will hear about all those resolutions during today's informative discussion on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. Now, here's your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
We have returned.
Ha-ha.
And this is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560 The Answer. I am your host. I am attorney Stephen Leahy.
And I am your co-host, Jim Leahy.
And now, here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Know-It-All, the segment where Attorney Leahy answers those difficult questions that we all are asking. And I know a lot of questions, or I know one question that a lot of people are asking is, you claim to get people out of to be able to help people with their IRS problems. What is some of your best stories with, what is the most you've ever gotten somebody out of? Well, what is the biggest biggest pickle you got somebody out of?
A jam or a pickle? Those are two different things.
You can put the jam on the pickle and then...
Okay. Actually, that is a pretty good question, and you have thrown me for a loop since I wasn't prepared for this one. But I have, I was telling Jimmy when he said, well, I'm going to ask you this. I'm like, because it kind of caught me. But I'm going to tell you.
Talk about that kind of stuff with you, giving away the formula.
I have helped people with hundreds of millions of dollars walk away. I've had people who owed millions of dollars and walk away from debt. Wow. Now, sometimes that involves bankruptcy, one of my earliest cases for taxes now, and it had to do with the state of Illinois. And I had a guy, and I wasn't very experienced with taxes.
Are you experienced?
I was doing a lot of
Jimi Hendrix.
I was doing a lot of bankruptcies, and I got it.
No, I'm looking at the camera.
I was doing a lot of bankruptcies at the time, so this was some years ago, and not a lot of tax stuff. But I had a guy who filed bankruptcy, and he had tax problems after the bankruptcy, and we talked about that on the show. Like, sometimes even though you file bankruptcy, it doesn't get rid of all your tax problems all the time, and so it didn't get rid of his. He had Illinois state taxes that were due, and he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds. And we settled for $50.
Wow! So, did he cut him a check right in the
yeah,
in the courtroom?
He did. As a matter of fact, we met at the Thompson Center, And because that's where the offices are from the Jim Thompson Center. That's where the Illinois Department of Revenue has offices downtown. And so I was in there with him, and we worked out with the revenue officer there for $50, and he walked away. But here's a guy, he didn't have anything. He owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, but he didn't have it. He was older. He was out of work. He was collecting Social Security on a fixed income. And so what are they going to get from him? They're not going to get anything from him. So they took $50. So, but I've had people who were in business, for instance, who, I just had the one case where the guy walked away from $879,000 that he owed the IRS for what they call trust fund recovery, and that's for business payroll taxes. That was a harder one. And it took a long time to walk away, but he did walk away and kept his house and everything. And it was, again, almost $900,000. Wow. A lot of money.
Whoa.
So what I've learned is that, it doesn't always have to be a big number for people to feel a huge relief, right? If I don't have a lot of money, $50,000 could be the world to me. And I always tell people, if it doesn't really matter if I owe the IRS $200,000 or $300,000, if I can only pay them $10,000, well, that's all I can pay them. I mean, they can't make me pay them more than I got. I can't. So, but again, if I owe $50,000, it might as well be $1 million. I've had a lot of people tell me that. Well, it might as well be $1 million. I can't pay it. It doesn't matter how much it is. And so again, it doesn't. It's not.
So
always,
it does matter.
It's not always a big number though that gives people the relief that they're looking for. That's my point. Yeah, if I owe $1 million, it's nice to walk away from it. But if I don't have a lot of money and I got these people coming after me and I only owe $50,000, then that's big.
I have one more question for you, and this is kind of a personal question. So we all know that you're the hot dog.
Sometimes
we all know you're the hot dog.
I am the hot dog guy. Yes.
Did owning your own business in the past help lead the business for the future?
Well, absolutely, because it makes you understand what. And I'm a business owner now, right? I run my own little business now.
Yeah.
It's a law firm.
Yeah, we all know.
And
we know.
I understand, but it does put me on the same level with many of my clients are people who run their own business. That's what they do. And so it's nice when they come to see me. If you go to a big time outfit, you're going to talk to a lawyer. He has no idea what it's like to run his own business because that's not what he does. He's a lawyer for a big time firm. He's not running any business, but I am a small businessman, just like you. And so I understand what it takes and how you're feeling and the ups and downs of running your own business. And I think it pays off because I understand and I have an affection for my clients. I really do. And it's true. And I know it sounds corny and everything, but it is true. And I thought that was a good question.
It sounds like.
But again, it doesn't really. Sometimes it doesn't really matter how much you're getting that you're going to get relief from. But you need relief. That's why most people, the last thing they want to do is file bankruptcy. The last thing they want to do is come down and see a lawyer about their financial problems. It's easier to stick your head in the ground, and that's what most people do. They stick their head in the ground and they wait till the real bad things happen. But here's my advice to you. Don't wait that long. If you're having some problems, sometimes we can plan and avoid all of that. But people are afraid to admit that they're having the problems. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. And remember, if you're in a trouble or you're having a jam, call Stephen Leahy because he's your man.
Jam, man.
Whatever, I tried. I'm under the weather today, man. You're just lucky I'm even here. Wow.
No, Jim, I'm not lucky. The listeners are lucky.
Yeah.
Because we
High
need
five
you
up top.
Oh, we don't do that here. We do.
You do that to me on camera every time we be hanging.
This is chaos.
Don't call this man.
This is chaos. We don't high five here. My listeners will know what that means. Call us at 312-664-6649.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you give him a call and let him know that you know what he's talking about here on the IRS Radio Hour, AM 560.
The answer.
You're listening to the IRS Radio Hour with attorney Stephen Leahy on AM 560, The Answer. Attorney Stephen Leahy brings his passion and expertise to your radio each and every week during the IRS Radio Hour. Tune in, take notes, and be educated. Learn your options resolving financial obstacles that face so many. And now, back to the IRS Radio Hour with your host, attorney Stephen Leahy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is not Stephen Leahy. This is the co-host, Jim Leahy. And we want to thank you for tuning in to the IRS Radio Hour here on AM 560. The Answer. What do you think, Attorney Leahy?
I think that you did a great job there.
Wow.
Jim.
You know what? There has been...
And wait, we hear our listeners know that this is Friday that we record, and the show airs on Sunday, because that's why you're listening on Sunday.
Let me dust this off, because I know what we're talking about.
But today, that's it.
I know what we're talking about.
Right. Today, pitchers and catchers have...
Yes, I'm wearing my Cubs stuff. I'm ready to go. Jim, what do you think? Big Jim Thompson.
World Series all the way.
World Series all the way.
We're going to beat the Cardinals. We're going to go.
Was that awesome?
Beautiful.
Was that to beat the Cardinals in the playoffs was just
greatest
incredible.
Thing, I think.
I mean, the only time they've played in the playoffs together and we won. We can hold that over St. Louis. It's amazing.
And you know, I don't know if you read
hockey.
I don't just see that Lackey talking about why he came to the Cubs. I want to be on a winner. You know, God bless. I'll take less money to play with the Cubs.
You know, but it's not downsizing the Cardinals. They're an amazing organization, but it's just amazing for for somebody to say that.
I reluctantly will agree with you. I don't like the Cardinals, but they're
an amazing organization.
They're fantastic.
I agree.
I mean,
they're not bad. We just got better. We can compete against them.
I agree.
Yes.
They were a great team last year. They were a great team.
They really were. They really were.
Kind of reminds me of the back in the day with Atlanta. They're there all the time. It's like they get they get so old headed. Just they thought they were going to walk in and just kill us like they always do, and they didn't.
The Cardinals had that Koufaxian type of pitching last year, so it was like, you know, they're just on top, and we were able
That's quite a word you made up there.
Koufaxian?
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Sandy. See what I did there?
This isn't a comedy, ladies and gentlemen.
It is now.
No, it's not. False. Well, along with that, I was at the game, the Hawks game on Monday against Toronto. They smoked them. I mean, it just wiped the floor. Did you watch that game against Toronto?
Was that Panarin's hat trick? Was that the same game?
Yes,
it was. It was also the game where Darling made that amazing save.
Right.
I saw that.
Now, remember
cool.
A couple months ago, was it maybe a month and a half ago, when Jim went to the game, he took his old Uncle Steve with him, but this time he took a girl.
No,
you didn't take a girl?
Don't call James Mackey a girl.
Oh, you want Mackey?
Yeah, I want Mackey. I want my buddy Mackey.
I was excusing the girl.
Yes.
But now I'm angry.
Because guess what? He paid.
Oh, God bless him.
Mackey's going to like that. That's for you, buddy.
If we can get
well, ladies and gentlemen, the show is winding down. We're just rolling through. They're talking sports. Talking sports, just kind of shooting the proverbial stuff.
Here's what I'm not going to mention.
What?
The Chicago Bulls.
Nah.
I didn't mention them.
Awful.
Disappointing. Absolutely disappointing.
I watched them against Cleveland.
Garbage.
Last night against Cleveland.
Garbage.
It's
they got rid of Kirk Heinrich, too.
I know. He's my neighbor out there, so he's gone now. But he's been our neighbor for a long time.
Really? Where is he at? Oh, we'll talk later.
I don't want to give you his address. But his kid goes to Bannockburn.
Is he really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No way. Oh, well, you just gave it away.
I didn't tell you. I didn't give you his address. I didn't give his address. Everybody knows that a lot of Bulls live out that way.
I think Gar Forman's gone after this year. He made no.
It was stupid to even bring him on.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
let's get rid of Tom Thibodeau.
I didn't like
this guy.
I wasn't a big Tom, but let's face it, we were winners. He was a good coach, and it's like a personality. Well, we have a personality conflict. Well, then you should go because he's winning and you're not.
That's the whole thing with Jerry Reinsdorf. He does that all the time. Take a look at the White Sox and take a look at what's going on.
I agree.
Over there.
Yep. It's like, it's a personal thing. Hey, remember we got rid of when he got Jackson, right? Because he got rid of Doug Collins.
Yeah, that's true. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when the IRS has taken a personal shot against you, there is one guy you call, and that is Attorney Stephen Leahy and
Opem Tax Resolutions.
And the number is 312-664-6649, or visit them on ChicagoTaxTeam.com.
And go next week. We're going to be here again at 5 o'clock on Sundays, and you join us.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Here on AM 560,
The Answer.